So we got about a half an hour, Coach, so I'll get started. I don't think I'm going to finish today.
Okay.
All right?
Yep.
Your counsel asked you about whether or not a number of things are violations of the NCAA rules. You remember that?
I do.
Okay. You know that lying during an NCAA investigation is a violation, right?
I do.
Okay. And you knew that back then, right?
I did.
Okay. And Coach, we'll talk about the details of what happened in the NCAA proceeding tomorrow, but I just want to give a little quick overview here. You were first interviewed in September of 2006 at the NCAA, right?
Yes.
And so that was your first chance to answer questions and explain to the NCAA what you did or didn't know.
Yes.
Okay. And in fact, Coach, the news reports about Reggie Bush and the benefits, they were already in the media before that interview happened, right?
Yes.
Before September of 2006, right? And in fact, there were even news reports just a few days before that first interview, news reports that said that you knew about the benefits. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay, so going into that first interview, you knew there was information in the media linking you to knowledge of the benefits.
Yes.
Okay. And then you had, but in that first interview, that was before you turned over your phone records, right?
Yes.
And that was before the enforcement staff got some other information that they would question you about in the second interview, right?
That's fair.
Okay. And so then in February of 2008, you were interviewed a second time, right?
Yes.
And by the way, you understood that you had a right, if you wanted to bring a lawyer to both of those interviews.
Yes.
Okay. And you chose not to.
True.
Okay. There were lawyers from USC at both interviews, but you did not bring a personal lawyer.
That's true.
Okay. And your counsel talked about it some, and I think we'll talk about it more tomorrow, but in the second interview, Coach Joe Hanningmeyer, who was asking most of their questions, you remember him?
Yes, I do.
He messed some things up. Like the date.
Yes.
We talked about that. And there was some confusion on his part about Percy Harvin and the recruiting trip. You think you talked about that?
Yes.
In that second interview on Coach Hanningmeyer's part. But that wasn't your last chance to tell the NCAA your side of the story, right?
You're right.
Okay. Because you got to go in February of 2010 to the hearing before the Committee on Infractions, right?
Yes.
And the Committee on Infractions, you understood that those were the people who were going to make the decision, right?
Yes.
Okay. It wasn't going to be Coach Joe Hanningmeyer or Angie Creters who got to decide, right?
Right.
Okay. And by that point, you and your attorney had reviewed the notice of allegations, right?
Yes.
And you had responded to it in writing.
We did.
Okay. And by that committee hearing, there was no confusion anymore about the year of that January 8th phone call, right?
Yes. You're right.
There was no confusion,
You're
right? And at that committee hearing, you got to tell the committee what was going on with agents and the panel on January 9th, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you did tell them that in response to some questions.
Yes.
Okay. And at that committee hearing, everyone knew and agreed that on October 29th, 2005, Percy Harvin was indeed in town for a recruiting visit.
Yes.
Okay. And so you got questions about that, and you got to give your side of the story of what happened that night, understanding that it was the night of the Percy Harvin recruiting visit.
Yes.
Okay. And so, even though you got a chance to explain that and clear that up, the first committee ended up finding against you on knowledge of the Bush benefits. Right.
They did.
Okay. And they found that you had not told the truth.
They did.
Okay. And they gave you a show cause, but Coach, that show cause didn't actually begin to run when they issued their report. Do you remember that?
That I don't. That I don't recall.
Okay. Do you remember? If you don't, that's okay. You can tell me. But do you remember that the show cause was stayed until the second committee heard it and came out with their report?
I don't recall.
Okay. We'll get to that tomorrow. I'll see if I can refresh you. But that second committee was another chance for you to try to get your side of the story across, right?
Yes.
And you went into both of those committees hopeful that, both of those hearings hopeful that the committees would rule for you.
I did.
And in the hearings themselves, you thought they were asking questions, generally seemed open, generally seemed fair.
Yes.
Okay. But you were disappointed with the result both times.
I was.
Now, I want to, in the time I have left, since it's fresh in the jury's mind, I want to jump to a few things you told the jury earlier today. Okay, follow up with some questions.
Yes.
So, one thing you said from that witness chair today is, quote, "I've always maintained that I could have met Lloyd Lake, and I gave a couple examples of how that can happen." Remember saying that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now, in the first interview, you said you didn't remember having any.
I said not to my knowledge.
Yeah, you said not to your knowledge.
Yeah.
And you didn't give any examples in that first interview of how you could have met Lloyd Lake. To your recollection.
I think in the first interview, I gave an example of having my nephew Marcus.
Okay, I know what you're talking about. You know what?
Wasn't that in the first interview?
We'll clear it up tomorrow.
Okay.
But in that first interview, one of the things you said about Lloyd Lake was not to my knowledge.
Yes.
Okay. Now, in the second interview, though, you were much more definitive that you did not know Lloyd Lake, right?
Yes. That I didn't know him? Yes.
And that you never talked to him.
Well, yes.
Okay. Can we put up Exhibit 37, which is already in evidence, at page 44? It'll come up on your screen. And is that too small, or can you read it? It's
Oh, okay.
okay. Here, I'm going to come on up. Is this okay?
Sure.
All right. So you said at one point, "I don't know Lloyd Lake."
I did.
Okay. And you said again, when asked a follow-up question, you reiterated, "I don't know Lloyd Lake."
I did.
Okay. And then, can we just scroll a little bit? Great. Later on, this is in the same line of questioning, you said, "I don't know and have never talked to Lloyd Lake." Fair.
I did.
Okay. You asked about the Marshall Falk party. I'll talk to you a little bit about that tomorrow. But you go on to say, I didn't talk to Lloyd Lake, I didn't see Lloyd Lake. You see that?
I do.
Okay. Let's go to the next page. I'm sorry, actually, can we go to page 46? Exhibit 37, page 46. Okay, so you're asked, you're asked now in the second interview about that photograph. It's you and Faison Love, and you agree you know Faison Love, right? That was never
Yes.
that. But you were asked about the other two people in the photo who are Lake and Michaels. Remember that?
I do.
Okay, and you're asked, do you know the other two individuals? You say, no, is it supposed to be Lake? One of them's supposed to be Lake? That's what we're asking you? No, I don't know.
Yes.
Okay. And Later, this page 46, can you just scroll down? Same page. You can stop it right there. This is the point. Page 46 is the point of the interview with Coach Joe Hanningmeyer. And I apologize if I'm talking too fast. When Coach Joe Hanningmeyer raised ethical conduct charge, right?
I see that.
Okay. And your response was, I don't know him, and I did not call him, right?
Yes.
And can we go to page 55 of the interview? There, that's a good spot. You say again, I don't know Lloyd Lake.
Yes.
Right. I've never spoken to him.
Yes.
And even when you were asked about the photo, you said, well, they could be hangers-on kind of in the background, right?
I did.
Okay. So you did not maintain in your second interview that you could have met Lloyd Lake.
You said I didn't maintain?
Yeah, you didn't say, you didn't tell the NCAA in your second interview that you could have met Lloyd Lake.
I didn't? I mean, say it again.
Okay.
You're telling me in the second interview?
I'll ask it a different way. You told us today, I always maintained I could have met Lloyd Lake. There is nowhere in that second interview where you maintained that you could have met Lloyd Lake, because you said over and over and over again that you didn't know him, never spoke to him.
Can we back up? Can we back up a couple pages where you were a minute ago?
You want to go to page, which page do you want?
Before you went to 55, your last display, if you scroll up, like, make this go down.
46. Let's go to
All right.
46. I was,
Okay, now go down a little more. No, go this way, I think. Go a little bit more, right there. All right, right here it says, I've been around there, pulled a lot of pictures out of our office, pictures after games, posing with friends, various friends, hangers on, this guy, that guy.
Excuse
I
me.
can, I came around there and pull a lot of pictures out of our office, pictures after games, posing with parents and various friends, hangers on. This guy, that guy, I can coach take a picture with me, coach take a picture of me, hold on a minute, I can come. You can be outside the game, hey, Coach McNair, great game, could you take a picture with us? All right, sure, you know what I mean.
okay,
Now,
let's
do
keep
I-
going. You don't have to keep reading, I just want to see where we are in here.
Happens to us constantly, all the time. I don't know these guys. Yes, that's the phone number of my phone, how that happened. If somebody else had the phone, I thought I was calling somebody else. They called me, I don't know. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
But I don't know these dudes. That picture that night, I don't, I don't remember this supposed to be night after game or whatever.
Okay,
Now,
so,
are you,
I'm sorry, should I cut you off?
no, go ahead.
So you did talk about there could be a hanger-on, there could be somebody like that in the photo, but you kept saying you don't know these guys.
Yes, I do.
Now, we can put that down. Coach, I want to ask you about a couple things you said this morning that I'm having a hard time lining up with what you told the NCAA before,
Okay.
and with other documents that I've seen. So let me start here. You were hired at USC in 2004.
Yes, I was.
All right, so, and you were hired as the running back coach, right?
Yes, I was.
So I'm gonna put RB,
Yes.
okay? And in 2005, you were running back coach, right?
Yeah, I was.
Okay. And then you told us in 2006, you got additional responsibility, right?
Yes, I believe it was 2006.
Okay.
I got special teams coordinator.
Running back and special teams. And special teams coordinator, that's big responsibility, because that's a third of the game.
It is.
Right. You're coordinating a whole unit rather than just a positional group.
It
Fair?
is. It is fair.
Okay. And I believe you told us that you stayed in that position, running back and special teams coordinator. In fact, I know because I checked the transcript, all the way until Pete Carroll left. in 2010.
Yes.
Right, and you're saying the reason you lost the special teams coordinator position in 2010 is that Lane Kiffin brought somebody else in, right?
Baxter, John Baxter.
Okay. That's not actually what happened, is it?
That's the way I recall it, to my knowledge, yes.
Well, let's see if we can clear that up. Can you take a look at what's been marked for identification as Exhibit 368? Let's not publish it for the jury yet, but let's show the coach and counsel. You see that, sir? That's a USC media guide, right?
I do it.
And you're familiar with these guides. They come out every year and they go through the coaching staff, right?
They do.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, I would move to admit Exhibit 365.
368 or 365?
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor. 368. You were right. I lost the number. 368.
Okay, so, any objection?
Well, if he could just lay the foundation that that's what it is.
Okay. You want to ask the witness then what?
Is
you can lay the
this
foundation?
a copy of the media guide Trojan Football for 2009?
It is.
Okay, Your Honor, I move to admit.
No problem.
Okay, it's 368 is it?
Okay. And Coach McNair, can you turn, and it'll come up on your screen, to page 12 of the media guide.
Okay.
Right. And it talks about Pete Carroll, because he was still the head coach
Right.
in the 2009 season, right?
Yes.
That was the last full season he coached,
Yes.
USC. And if we go forward to page 17, that's you there.
Yes, it
And
is.
you're just the running back coach, according to this page, right? According to this page.
According to the page, yes.
Okay, let's go to page 18. And scroll down, please. Page 18 says that Brian Schneider was the special teams coordinator. Remember that now?
You're right, yeah.
Right, and Brian is somebody that Coach Carroll brought in January 2009
That's
to
right,
run
yes,
special
you're right.
teams.
You're right.
Okay. So, 2009, you had lost the special teams coordinator position and you were back to just being the running back coach, right?
Yes, you're right. I forgot Snides came in. He was only there 1 year.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, by the time that USC chose not to renew your contract, let me mark that here. You said that's about 20 days after the COI report.
Yes.
USC, I'm going to say, does not renew. So by that time, you had lost your special teams coordinator position and were down to just being running back coach, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for clearing that up.
Yep.
And that decision by Coach Pete Carroll to bring in the other special teams coordinator,
Mhm.
that was a football decision by Coach Carroll, right?
Yes, it was.
Right. That had nothing to do with the NCAA proceeding in
It was.
2009, right? I mean, that was before there was even a notice of
was.
allegations. Okay. Now, Coach, another thing you said that confused me is you told us, remember your counsel asking about the 599 calls and about why you were reaching out to Reggie.
Yes.
And you told us, actually, can we put this up? This is page 58 of the rough transcript. Mr. Carter, do we have the ability to put that up? Okay, so what,
Your Honor, I don't think rough
Yeah,
is supposed to
I
be.
mean,
okay,
it's not
that,
certified.
that's fine, I'll just read it to you.
I think we ought to just,
That's fine, Your Honor.
we'll wait till it's certified, you can use it then.
You said, for all of his abilities, Reggie Bush wasn't a student of the game. You remember that?
That's what I said.
So you said, and that's why you had to text him or call him with tips and information.
Yes, I did.
But let's go to your first interview. Exhibit 35 at page 44. So what you told the NCAA in 2006, first time they ever talked to you, well, you told them, Reggie's the most. Reggie is who he is for a reason. He's the most focused guy you know.
Absolutely.
He's the most focused player at a young age that I've ever seen.
And he is. He was.
So in 2006, you told the NCAA staff that Reggie Bush is the most focused player at a young age that you had ever seen.
I did.
Okay. And this morning you told the jury that for all of his abilities, Reggie Bush wasn't a student of the game.
There's a difference.
What is the difference?
A focused player is about self-awareness. He knows who he is. He knows he has to work out. He stays focused. He doesn't really party. He's not a big partier. He's focused on what he has to do and who he is, and he understands that. Now, he gets away. He always got away with his tremendous ability. He could run, make people miss. That's why he wasn't the running back he was in the NFL that he was in college. Now, he wasn't a student of the game where he felt he had to take notes. Reggie couldn't tell you what he did on the field. Lindell was a cerebral player. Lindell can tell if he ran a play and he did something, I'd ask him, why'd you do that? He said, well, the center got leverage on the guy, he reached him, so I had to stay front side. Reggie come back to the huddle, you ask him what he did, I don't know. He was a physically gifted player like that, but he wasn't a student of the game. It's the difference between being focused in his life and being a student of the game.
Can you just take the blow up down, just so I can see it here?
That's why I say even with girls and stuff, I'm talking about he's focused in his life. He didn't get preoccupied with a lot of stuff. He didn't get preoccupied with a lot of things that other players did.
Well, look at this sentence here. You know, he adds to, you know, we don't. We didn't have those discussions because all you know, I am too wide, I am too, you know. It's all football related.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just told
He
you.
was focused on football.
Like I just told you.
Reggie's not a player. He was never a player that could come back and tell you what he did. That's why right there I said we didn't have those discussions because you know I'm too wide. He wouldn't tell you he was too wide. He didn't know if he was too wide or not. All he knows is could I outrun this guy or could I not. So he was a focused player in his life, but he wasn't a student of the game. You don't. It's a difference between I'm focused. I'm not I don't get into distractions. I don't party too hard. I don't have situations with girlfriends and all. He was focused in his life. Wasn't a student of the game.
Didn't you tell us this morning that he was out with a model the night Percy Harvin was in town and that you were upset at him because you thought he faked his phone?
No, I did not. I said the only reason I could think of that Reggie wouldn't be that he would leave Percy in the hotel was he's probably out with a model or something. Now, going out and being with a girl, that's one thing. Being overindulgent and preoccupied with this chick here, this chick there, not getting his work. He was always a good student. He did his work. He was not a student of the game in football. The game came too easy to him.
In 2006, you said, he's, you know, even with girls and stuff, he's just an extremely focused kid, no matter what.
He is. He never got into situations with girls. He never got preoccupied with girls. He wasn't going out every night. He had a girlfriend or two, but he wasn't preoccupied like normal 19, 20-year-old kids are. He was focused on what he had to do. He was always up. He's in the weight room at 6:30 in the morning. He was focused in his life, and but he wasn't a student of the game is what I meant.
But you testified that he certainly wasn't focused October 29th when you said you thought he was out with some model instead of helping recruit the single player in the country, Percy Harvin, who could replace him.
Now, that's not being focused in his life. He was selfish, and Reggie's focused in his life. He couldn't care if we were recruiting Percy Harvin or not, obviously. And I thought that the only thing that would make him ditch his responsibilities as far as recruiting was probably out on a date or something.
Right, but in 2006, you said, even with girls and stuff, he's just an extremely focused kid, no matter what he's doing, right?
I said that. I think this is a little bit of clash of culture with you and I. Like, I've played football, and I understand what the situations are with females when you're a young kid and you're a star. Going out on a date is not being unfocused.
And we can put that one down. Let me just ask you,
Yes, sir.
what you said today about Reggie Bush not being a student of the game.
Yes, sir.
You never mentioned that at any of these opportunities you had to explain your side of the story. To your recollection.
No, I did not.
You know, at both the second interview and at the hearings, that your many telephone calls with Reggie Bush were a topic of interest to the NCAA.
One more time, I'm sorry.
You know, you were asked about your phone calls with Reggie Bush at the second interview. And that was something that came up a number of times at the hearing, right?
I believe so.
Okay. And you never said, either in the interview or in the hearing, oh, you know, the reason I had to have those calls with Reggie is because he wasn't a student of the game.
Well, I said that Reggie and I were close. And I really didn't, I said we were close. And I don't think I was asked questions to further explain the phone calls or anything.
It's about a 2-minute warning.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thank you for the warning. That is something you've said for the first time now in this trial, about 13 years after the events of 2005 and 2006.
Yes, sir. Because nobody has, I don't recall anybody challenging my credibility on the point of the phone calls. Now the phone calls, the reason I went back and counted was because you asked me in my deposition when you came to Santa Monica about the same deal.
Okay,
And
I don't mean to cut you off, but I don't think I'd asked a question.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I don't think I was challenged at the time on my credibility being lumped in with the amount of phone calls in those interviews. I'm not sure. I don't recall that. I could be wrong.
Coach Joe Hanenmeyer challenged you about the fact that you had 330 calls to Reggie Bush, and you never once mentioned that Bush wasn't a student of the game in that interview.
It really wasn't. That's 330 calls in.
They had a chunk of it. We've been talking about 599 over 15 months. The
Right.
330 was over an even shorter period.
Right. It wasn't a contention. I didn't think at that time I had to go into the detail of the explaining the calls to the degree I do now. I trusted the NCAA. I trusted they were making a fair investigation. I trusted that all the evidence would be. Now this is a different situation where I have to go into everything in greater detail.
All right, so
Thank you.
why don't we do that tomorrow? Since it's now time to break.